In 2015, there was a traffic jam on a Beijing highway that completely choked even a 50-lane highway. In 1980, the traffic jam on the French autoroute was so intense that vehicles were stuck for up to 175 kilometers, stretching from Paris to Lyon. It took several days to clear. Similarly, countries like Brazil, Germany, and the United States have experienced traffic jams where vehicles were reportedly trapped for as long as 12 days. But today, the traffic jam I'm about to talk about will surely leave you amazed. This traffic jam didn't last for just a few days, weeks, or months. It astonishingly continued for 8 years. The world's longest and most difficult traffic jam occurred in the Suez Canal, where ships and thousands of crew members were severely stranded for the next 8 years. On highways and expressways, traffic jams can typically be cleared in a few days at most. But the jam in the Suez Canal was beyond anyone's control. Let's explore the fascinating story of this extraordinary and longest-running traffic jam in history. As we all know, the Suez Canal is considered the crown jewel of the shipping and trading industry. Before its construction, ships had to go all the way around Africa to reach Europe, turning what was once a months-long journey into a matter of days. The Suez Canal allowed ships from Europe to directly reach the Asian continent by passing through the Mediterranean Sea and then the Red Sea. Each ship using this route saves about 10,000 kilometers of travel. Besides this, many pirate gangs in African waters used to loot ships passing through, especially the infamous Somali and West African pirates. These pirates would force ships to stop, loot cargo worth millions of dollars, and take crews hostage to make demands. The Suez Canal helped ships avoid these long routes and dangerous pirates. This incident occurred on June 5, 1967, when early in the morning, 15 cargo ships entered the Suez Canal from the Mediterranean side. Normally it takes ships about 12 hours to cross the canal, but this journey was about to stretch from hours to years, something they had no idea about. At that time, tensions were already brewing between Egypt and Israel, with both preparing for war. If you look at the map, the border between Israel and Egypt lies quite far, almost 200 kilometers from the Suez Canal. This entire region is called the Sinai Peninsula. Because it was far from the border, neither Egypt nor the 15 ships had any concerns about the growing tension. But that day, the simmering conflict exploded, and war suddenly broke out. Israeli forces launched a surprise attack on Egypt. Within an hour, many rockets and planes crashed around the Suez Canal. The situation deteriorated so rapidly that Egyptian forces immediately closed the canal from both sides. The fighting continued for 6 days, but Israeli forces succeeded in taking full control of the Sinai Peninsula. The new border between Israel and Egypt now essentially ran along the Suez Canal. This was a major defeat for Egypt. To prevent Israeli forces from crossing the canal further, Egypt stationed ships on both sides, destroyed its own bridges, and installed mines throughout the canal. The sole purpose was to ensure that no one, including Israel, could use the canal. During this time, the 15 cargo ships were stuck in the Great Bitter Lake. Egyptian forces were to their west and Israeli forces to the east. They could neither return to the Mediterranean nor proceed to the Red Sea. In short, they had no option but to stay put in that location. Hundreds of other ships were also halted in the Mediterranean and Red Sea. Everyone was waiting in hopes that the situation might resolve. But things only worsened with time. Days passed, then weeks, and then months. But the tension between Egypt and Israel never eased. This disruption affected the entire world. Shipments were delayed, and freight charges increased several times over. Ships that once used the Suez Canal to travel from Europe to the Middle East and Asia now had to travel around the African continent. While the whole world faced new challenges due to this war, the 15 trapped ships and their crews were stuck in a personal crisis. Among them were British, German, Swedish, Polish, French, Bulgarian, Czechoslovakian, and American ships. After several months, when it became clear that the issue would not be resolved anytime soon, most of the shipping companies recalled their crews, leaving only 10 people on each ship for maintenance. Every few months, these crews were rotated with new personnel, in the hope that one day, they would be able to free their stuck ships. Spending so much time together, the crews of the 15 ships developed close friendships. To escape depression, they arranged various activities. A small church was opened on the German ship where all Christians gathered every Sunday. The Bulgarian ship hosted movie nights every evening. The Swedish ship held pool parties, and football was played on the British ship. They even organized Olympic-style games in the middle of the Bitter Lake, calling it the Bitter Lake Olympics, 1968. Year after year passed, but the ships remained stuck in the same spot. Eventually, a layer of silt settled on them. Since these were neutral ships with no involvement in the war, neither Israel nor Egypt objected to food and supplies being sent to them. After 6 years, in 1973, the war reignited with more intensity, but this time, Egypt launched the attack. Egypt entered the Sinai Peninsula with full force and pushed Israeli forces back. Both sides launched heavy attacks. However, during this renewed conflict, an Israeli rocket unintentionally hit a stranded American ship, sinking it completely. This week-long battle resulted in thousands of casualties on both sides. Eventually, on October 24, 1973, a ceasefire agreement was reached, and both countries began to withdraw their troops. Although the 6-year war had officially ended, for the ships trapped in the canal, it felt like the battle was still ongoing. Over those 6 years, the canal had become cluttered with the wreckage of boats, ships, planes, and rockets. In addition, Egypt had planted numerous mines. It took Egypt 2 more years to completely clear the Suez Canal. On June 5, 1975, exactly 8 years later, the Suez Canal was reopened. After spending so much time together, it was finally time for the 14 remaining ships to leave the canal. When they returned to their home countries, they received a grand welcome. After 8 years of closure, traffic through the Suez Canal resumed once again. No traffic jam in history has ever matched this one in scale, and none has since. On the diplomatic front, relations between Egypt and Israel improved. Israel returned the entire Sinai Peninsula to Egypt, making Egypt the first Arab country to recognize Israel. Hopefully, this video will receive lots of likes and shares from you all. Thank you so much for your loving comments. We'll meet again in the next amazing video.